So, for the voice of the woman, and that if that is not possible, that's what the human. You don't lose anything by what the human. This transfer thing of every certain our heads of state going to cities and sometimes getting across and so has to come to an end. We need a meaningful voice in the human, or no way it doesn't mean anything to us. But you see, we have to understand why the human is what it is. The UN was set up in 1925 after the Second World War. At the time they were setting up the UN, we were colonies. So we're not there, we're not at the table. The discussions about the UN and its institutions and so on, we were not part of it. It was the so-called Allied forces who claimed to have won the war against fascist Germany, who were designing a structure. And that structure was to protect the interests. We were not there, our interests were not protected at all. And that is why they created a UN institution in which we have no voice at all. Today, since 1945, 81 years on, we have not independent. It is time for us to struggle to change the UN. Not just the UN, but the UN and all its agencies, including the World Bank, the IMF, the World Trade Organization, so all of this have to change so that we can get meaningful voice. Okay. Ask yourself, why is it that a country like China, we go to the IMF 18 times, and every time we go, our problems become worse? That institution was not set up to protect our interests. Okay? You go to the IMF with a problem, the economy is suffering, you are not able to employ the population and so on. And then you give the solution which says that don't employ people in the public sector. And I mean, let's take this as a solution, you understand? So it is clear that the world's institutions need to be reset so that they have voice. Meaningful voice in those institutions. The question you ask is related to this. The US has assumed the position of the policeman of the world because the world order, the laws and so on, are in its back pocket. All the countries of the world can agree on something. If it says no, it is no. If it vetoes a resolution of the Security Council, that's the end. Okay? This is what gives you the arrogance and the power to continue to misbehave. Look, how many resolution has passed in the UN Security Council against the genocide that Israel is committing in Gaza? All of them have been vetoed by the US. So the US has made itself the law, the interpreter of the law, and the enforcer of the law. And that's the reality. So the world as we know it today has to change. If the world does not change, our oppressors will be holding to continue the oppression under the guise of international law. You know, the last 3 days, something very significant happened. Israel's parliament passed the law. The Knesset passed the law. And the law says that Palestinians who commit violent crimes leading to the death of Israelis should be sentenced to death by hanging. And that the execution should be carried out within 19 days. What about Israelis whose violent actions lead to the death of Israelis? They are not sentenced to death. They are not like Israelis who kill Palestinians, they are Israelis who kill Israelis. So this law is discriminatory. Only Palestinians will get harmed. Only Palestinians for committing the same offense that Israelis committed. So Palestinians get harmed, Israelis don't get harmed. And this is the law. This is what the Knesset has passed. You understand? Now, there are many problems with this law. Quite probably the fact that this is against the Palestinians. However, the fact that it's an apartheid law, so it's also against international law. Because international law does not allow the colonial occupier to make laws that govern another country. Pakistan is a separate independent country, occupied by Israel and so on. Okay. How does Israel make law to cover Pakistan? It doesn't make any sense at all. And yet, what is happening? The UN Security Council has not met on this. Nobody has sanctioned Israel for doing this. But unfortunately, and I say this unfortunately, and I say this and I have to verify it to you and put it, absolutely frank with you. The previous government for me was a nightmare. Why? We have the president of the republic saying publicly that he stands with Israel. What's wrong? You understand? If you have the president of the republic going to Washington and telling the American Foreign Secretary that Burkina Faso is acting against American interests, that it should give him weapons to go and fight Burkina Faso. That's a problem. You understand? So, I have that problem. But I am surprised, very, very surprised, that the new government who gave us hope and so on, this crisis in Iran has not made one statement of solidarity in the region. What is happening? Israel passes this apartheid law and Ghana is silent. This is what influenced Ghana. This is Ghana which led the national liberation struggle. This is Ghana which pioneered the founding of the non-aligned movement. And we are quiet. What are we afraid of? Actually, my friends, sometimes we have to be smart. You know our people probably better than I know them. And you know what their motivation is. Sometimes we are afraid to act. Because they want to go to New York and they are afraid that if they say something, the embassy will continue to listen. They see the crimes, they see the injustice, but they are afraid that some person who graduated from the university 3 years ago is sitting there as a consular officer and will not give them a visa. So they are right. They are ready to sacrifice the world for a visa to the government. It's sad. It's a reality.
Thank you very much.
Iran does not want to establish hegemony in the world of the beliefs. That's what the intent of Iran. And if you listen to all the Iranian leaders, what they say is that they want to be free, they want to be independent, they want to make their own decisions about themselves now and the future. And the aspiration is that every other country will be able to make its own decisions about its future and so on. So Iran is not a hegemonic power. Okay. So that is what Iran wants to do. Now, if you look at the Gulf countries and what is happening to them during this war, the Gulf countries, the leaders are beginning to see that they wasted their resources on defense, all the contributions to the Americans and so on. It's not that in the railway, it's obvious, you see everything, everything, not everything. Okay. In their words, they will rethink their security. And they will see their security springing from doing the will of their people and the will of the people they reach, rather than aligning themselves to the ruling class in the United States of America or anywhere else. In their sense, that's what their approach would be to politics in the region and politics in the world. Now, in the world, something is happening in Europe. For example, one of the first countries to condemn this new law that Israel has introduced, which makes it possible to kill Palestinians and not Israelis and so on, was France. Okay. France has decided, for example, that it will not allow its airspace to be used by the Americans and Israel to supply weapons which will be used against Iran. This is France. Spain decided that it will not allow US bases in Spain to be used to attack Iran. So all of this is out. Now, why is this happening? This is happening because the Europeans themselves are beginning to see the key to their attack. Denmark is part of the NATO. But Trump is threatening to go against Denmark to the next to sit Greenland. It's alarming. They are frightened by that prospect. Okay? Not just that, the Trump administration is sponsoring the far-right parties against the governments in Britain, in France, and Germany. You know that. And in France, for example, France is supporting Marine Le Pen against the government. In Britain, Trump is supporting Farage against the government. So they too are alarmed. They too see themselves as targets, and they begin to rethink their security. As we speak, all the European countries are in the meeting as we speak now, trying to figure out how to deal with the problem of the Strait of Hormuz, right now as we speak. Because they're saying that they can no longer depend on the Americans, and that the Americans don't have a strategy which will work. They are saying that the military strategy will not open the Strait of Hormuz, and that it's only the line of diplomacy which can open the Strait of Hormuz. So there's this gulf which is building between the so-called European powers and the United States of America. And it's important for us to watch it, to understand it, and to see how we can profit from it.
Thank you very much. My name is Ijana.
What is just and what is unjust. Okay. I've said elsewhere that I've worked with young people who don't get it, because who are completely lost. You don't get it at all. And I've worked with very old people who also don't get it at all. Not the same way that I find young people who are intelligent, who are committed, who are ready to struggle. And so it's not about age at all. One of the things that worries me most in current international political discourse is this notion of the Gen Z revolution. Jesus. Wow! That's one of the most stupid things that ever came out. This so-called Gen Z revolution. As if the struggle is about age. It's not. We have gold in our soil. Multinational operations of the West are coming to take the gold out. If young people are opposed to that, they want us to own our own gold. I'm one with them. You understand? If old people want to support the multinational operations against I'm against them, not because they are old, but because they will work for multinational operations against our interests. You know, this Gen Z thing really covers, creates a shield behind which monsters are made. Okay? There was a recent election in Uganda, and they brought up this Gen Z thing. A lot of people, Gen Z, they were supporting this black artist, what is his name? Bobby Wine, I'm not sure. Against Museveni. And I was thinking about that. I remember listening to Bobby Wine telling us that his role model is run by people in Venezuela, an American puppet. If Bobby Wine wants to be like his role model, no, what business are they going to do with me? No business can be done. But I feel him, and I don't want him to bring power anywhere. It's not the fact that is wrong. Okay? And And it's the same thing that they create these contraptions. Not too long ago, we heard about the Arab Spring, and they said it was spreading through the Arab countries as well. What is the ideological content of that spring? What does it stand for? So beyond these slogans, we have to look for substance. Okay? You have to look for substance. All things being equal, younger people are expected to be younger than us, the old people, all things being equal. Okay? So the future is more invested in you because you're likely to live longer, much longer than somebody like me who is sitting in the departure lounge already. You understand? So you have a responsibility to create a better future. Okay? You have a responsibility to create a better future. And that responsibility must find expression in learning. Know the society, know the process in the society, and align problem not on the basis of the youth, but on the basis of the strategic commitment to the interest of the country. And I believe that young people, properly educated, properly committed to principles as well, can become an asset for the advancement of the revolution. Not any young people. Young people who are lost, young people who are foolish, young people who embrace individualism have nothing to contribute. That's my position.
Thank you so very much for the opportunity.
When you were briefing the study, I took notice of an important you said.
You could see in this war, for instance, there seems to be narrative warfare, where you even mentioned the fact that Iran is minutes away from making peace, and so on and so forth. So, what would be your advice for the youth to be able to combat some of this narrative warfare that is putting the world, which is currently
Now the social media is available to all of us. So many of us who are WhatsApp, who are Facebook, so go there. Challenge their views. Put your views forward. Don't allow the social media space to be dominated by the enemy. We should dominate the social media space. With the information we have, with the analysis we have, so that's one way. Okay. We should learn more. We should learn more. You understand? About the world, about everything in the world, so that we can argue the position of knowledge and strength. So, and we must not act as individuals. We must begin to belong to organizations, to form organizations, so because it makes us strong. You understand? I think we know that.
I think we will be taking, two more questions.